for all their hard work and their dedication and their courage. Because we were at the end of our tether in that room. It's horrific that they can do this to somebody. I'm a good person. I'm a law-abiding citizen. I've never, ever committed a crime. I'm a fucking social worker, for God's sake, you know?
A fucking social worker.
And they just came and took us and put us in a van and just locked us up and threw away the key, and that was it.
Straight in. Hi, Gemma.
Hi guys, how are you?
Coming round the corner, it's Gemma.
Hello.
You missed all the excitement.
What happened?
Chris has done a lap dance and sung a song and everything.
Do it again. Do it again.
Oh, lap dance.
Do it again. Yeah.
Oh, Chris. He's being shy. He's being shy. Anyway, we were just talking, Gemma, about the events of the week, and the biggest event from our context is the Manchester shenanigans from last week with the Guardians. Now, I was just saying to Chris that I haven't seen any of the video footage, but I believe you have. Is that right?
Yes, I have. I've been sharing it all over. Well, on the platforms I'm not banned on at the moment, so
Right,
yes.
right. So can you bring up to speed with what happened? And
Yes, I can. There was this lovely woman who she was pretty much locked in a room in quarantine. She had no one to talk to. It was like a prison. And she was at her wit's end. Now, it's a shame we can't get the video up.
I do. I have got some clip if you...
Chris has got it, yeah.
Have you got
The way of explaining it.
So, yeah, she was at her wit's... Should we watch the video and then I'll talk about it?
Okay, I'll do clips of it. I'll do clips of it, right?
Inspire anybody who's in the same situation as me. So this all started because I travelled to Costa Rica for work for 2 weeks, and while I was there, the government changed the.
I'll jump ahead a little bit.
To quarantine in a hotel. I explained to that person that this wasn't possible because I was a single parent and I needed to look after my children. He then suggested that my children would have to come and quarantine with me, and if I wasn't to comply with this, that my children would be removed and put into care for the period of time that I was quarantining. Also, that if I didn't comply, I was to be arrested. They discussed with me the possibility of my children being sent elsewhere. However, were in agreement that this would undermine the COVID rules because I had already returned home to them, and that would possibly place somebody else at risk. I showed them my son's medical documents and explained that I felt that I was entitled or met the criteria for a medical exemption.
Ridiculous,
They
isn't
then
it?
tried to make
Absolutely
contact
ridiculous.
with the Home Office liaison who had ordered them to come to my house to collect me.
Okay, we can catch up a little bit with the rest of this later then, Chris, do you think? So how did it come about then, Gemma?
So this lovely lady was given the contacts to me. She was at her wit's end because she was locked in a hotel room. And you know how snug they are, especially the Holiday Inns, with her autistic 17-year-old son. Now, that's quite a dangerous situation. This woman is a social worker. She knows her stuff. There's something that she brought up there that I had to write down. They said that they would put her children into care. Now, that's something I noticed on Facebook. They were doing a mass recruit of nurses, police, army, and the most apparent on my feed was foster carers. So I knew this was coming in regards to taking the children away from the parents. This is what we're facing. But there is another way. So she got in touch with Chris. And they sat, not you, not yet. You may, you could be part of the squad soon, Mister. Well, you're part of the squad anyway. And it was organised to go and get her out of there. I mean, some of the people on the team have been trained up as common law constables, as have I, and knew how to not enter into joinder, how to use the legalese, how to stand in their space as sovereign. because these laws, these acts, they are not lawful. They're legal, but not lawful, and there's a big difference. So I've been doing a lot of research on that. What these guys did is they did enter the building, all filming, and spoke to the people. They said that she was free to leave, and at the same time they were saying that she was free to leave downstairs. They were blocking her way into the lift upstairs, so they were doing everything they could. Now these guys were all for, and now that might have nothing to do with it, but I find that very strange.
I spotted that straight away.
Yeah.
So yeah, they were blocking.
Can I just make a comment? Can I just make a comment there, Gemma? It's like no disrespect to contractors who have been shipped in from overseas, but
Absolutely not.
They're good people. They're coming to do work and everything, but they're all caught up in the whole confusion of everything. They don't understand what is law, what they're being requested.
Nobody does.
It's the same with the police as well. They're all in confusion. The councils are in confusion, and a lot of them are very good people, and they believe they're doing the right thing. So, just a little comment there.
Thank you for doing that, Chris. That's a very good thing to say in state. So what were you saying, Charlie?
No, I was just going to say, so what kind of things did they have to bear in mind not to do or to do? Probably more than anything else not to do.
Well, you don't go in there all guns blazing like a vigilante squad. You approach them within the law, within the common law, within your sovereignty, and let them know that these acts, the statutes, you have to enter into some form of verbal contract for them. She was free to leave. She didn't have to be there. Nobody really does. And the way they treated her is disgusting. I mean, it's not like, look at her crying. She breaks my heart. I know she's broken a lot of other people's hearts. There's some men that said they were going to cry because you'd see the despair on her face.
For their hard work and their dedication and their courage. Because we were at the end of our tether in that room. It's horrific that they can do this to somebody. I'm a good person. I'm a law-abiding citizen. I've never ever committed a crime. I'm a fucking social worker, for God's sake,
A fucking social worker.
And they just came and took us and put us in a van and just locked us up and threw away the key, and that was it.
And I think the worst thing about it, is like sort of later on in the interview, when the police ring her up, even after she'd been released, and they're trying to trick her into going back, and they're refusing to she's trying to get from them, well, what's legislation, what law.
They don't know.
Yeah, and that's it. It's tricks. It's all tricks.
There's a special language called legalese, and they're always trying to get you to enter into a thing called joinder. Now, as soon as you learn this, you are not entering into a contract with them.
Do you want to hear this bit? Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Facilitated your exit from the hotel that you should have been staying at with, I think it's your 2 children. There is a power for us to take you back by force. It's an offence that you're committing by not staying in that hotel. So before we end up on taking enforcement action, are you willing to do the right thing and the proper thing and go back voluntarily, or do we have to send officers to come and take you back?
Can you explain to me a little bit more about this enforcement?
I don't have to explain it. So it was all
yes, you do.
Upon your arrival.
Oh, yes, you do.
Nothing was explained to me.
Sorry, what were you saying, Gemma?
Oh, what part? Sorry, I was lost in a moment.
Okay, hang on. I'll just play a bit more.
Just explain this enforcement that you're trying to undertake on me.
Yeah, I'm not going to explain anything more than the fact you've come from a red-listed country and you have to quarantine inside a specific hotel, as has been explained to you. And obviously an instance happened where 3 males have facilitated your removal from that hotel, which clearly wasn't there.
4 males.
By Greater Manchester.
Right, so he said there are powers and he doesn't say what the power is. He doesn't
You
quote
know, he
any
can't.
law or anything like that. And she keeps asking him, and he says, "I've already said," but he didn't
Yeah.
say. And
Yeah,
then
exactly.
it goes like 3 or 4 times. And she said, he says, "I've said 4 times," but he hasn't said anything. He's obviously been like well trained to do this. Absolutely.
They know what to say. They know what. They must have a script in front of them. They know what to say and what not to say, and it's all about like fear, the control, the kind of entering into a contract, the you know, saying, "Oh, the powers. We've got powers to come and take you away."
But she's
Now,
Place.
actually,
very
of the
clever.
events, then, Gemma, because we know that, like, sort of, well, I actually got a text from Mal when I got up the next day, and I was kind of catching up with stories on his messages that he was sending me. So he'd said, like, if I was up for going down, well, of course, by the time I got up, it was about 10 o'clock in the morning. And then he was saying
I
about
was
how
just
we're going. Yeah, and then he says we're going into Manchester now, and then there was later on he says, "Oh, what a mess!" Now, because as we know, well, as we 3 know what happened, there was 2 members arrested. We know that the woman did get back. Chris did get the woman back with her children, but there was also he was arrested, as was Phil, and Phil was tasered. So
Yes, he
can you
was.
just bring us up to speed on what were the events surrounding that if you've seen the video?
I've spoken to all 4 men. Uh, so the woman, I mean, making sure that she's kept safe within the safe. They took her to a safe home. They actually organised it just because they knew she was going to come under flak. It's been happening with other people that other organisations have been working with. They've been trying to get people out of Heathrow. They've been attacking the family members, 81-year-old grandmothers, just to get to the people that escaped quarantine. So we've actually, for the police officers that have done that, we've held them to issue. We've held them to notice. And so in regards to Chris, in regards to the 2 people that were, and Phil was tasered,
Sorry, I'm not distracting you.
that didn't have to happen. There was a guy that was preventing them from reversing, standing in front of the car and standing behind the car, preventing them from leaving.
And that was just a member of the public, wasn't it? It wasn't one of the security people.
Now it just makes you wonder what's going through people's heads. They don't know what's going on. Oh, there they are. So, yeah, it's a bizarre thing that we're going through. This is actually happening. You can see the pain in her. That's not the only story. There are so many stories going through. I mean, this woman is not a troublemaker. She's a law-abiding citizen. She works for them as a social worker, and they're going to treat her like this. Okay.
It is. We're living in a crazy time. We really are. It gets to the point where when we've had, I mean, like, if people don't know what Guardians 300 is all about, it's essentially like sort of a force that's doing the job that the police should be doing. I mean, we know that the police have really haven't really been looking after our best interests for a long, long time. But at the moment, they're actively working against, well, you know, like sort of in quite a sinister way. So the Guardians are actually there to try and take back and protect us, we the people, you know, like take it back from the police.
It's
so
about protecting the people from the people for the people.
Yeah. Now you'll be doing training in that, Gemma, won't you? So you'll know.
I'm a fully qualified common law constable now, and I'm fully qualified to train people up as common law constables. I'm going to extend my training up towards the courtroom.
So imagine that there's someone who, you know, like either is watching this or someone who knows someone who's in the same situation as that lady was. What kind of things would you be saying to them to be aware of? What do they need to know?
To be aware of, Charlie, elaborate.
Well, I mean, let's say, for instance, it was you, and you hadn't been aware that, you know, it was against the law to put you into quarantine in a hotel room. So you find yourself in this hotel room. What do you do now?
Well, basically what she did, the more well-known we get, the more that people know that they can come to us and ask for our assistance. Because people are not aware of the common law, and they've been told that the common law does not stand. It does. It has been recognised by a High Crown Court judge. It has been recognised by the police service. They know it stands. It was the original law of the country.
Oh,
Hi.
Sorry,
yeah.
Gemma.
Was I censored? Was I censored?
Sorry about that.
Yeah, so
Where was I?
it's Chris with these magic fingers again. That's another story. Right, yes, no, but yeah, so I mean, like, in effect, is what we're saying that all of these laws are illegal. They're all illegal, they're all acts, they're all guidelines. So they're
They
trying
add
to
100 new laws every day under
yeah,
acts, and that is what it is. It is
yeah.
an act. You have to accept it to go along with it. It's all about entering into contract. It's a ridiculous thing. I mean, it does, none of them make sense. There's no way you can keep ahead of the law system anyway. So it doesn't matter.
Yeah, so let's imagine that you're on the phone. There's a woman in a hotel in the same situation as that lady was earlier on, right? She wants to leave the hotel. What do you tell her? What things are you saying to her on the phone?
Well, for a start, she needs to go on to www.commonlawcourt.com and register a birth certificate under them. And then she stands under their jurisdiction.
And is that what this lady did?
Yes, she did. And her children.
Okay.
So that means we could get her out. They verse her in legalese and to enter into joinder, and the fact that nobody can actually tell you what to do if you stand within your sovereignty. And they did try and physically block her, but if they actually touch her, that is assault.
Yeah.
If they keep a hostage, that is kidnapping against her will. And like, say if you were arrested and there was no reason to be arrested, you can actually charge them per hour for your incarceration.
Yeah.
Which people have actually charged the officers directly. Now, we're not going through the police. We're actually charging these people directly as individuals because that's how they're acting. So
Yeah.
Gemma, so can I ask?
Anything, Chris.
This woman was anything?
Depends what he asks.
Okay, so no. Just thinking about, we don't know her name, right? We've seen her face and everything, and we've heard her story, and very extremely distressing for her. I mean, God knows where she would be now if she didn't come across Guardians 300. But how many more people have there been like that?
Yeah, exactly. And now.
Well, even just today, the woman was heroic. She's been defending council workers from entering a shop. I'm not going to name names because might put her on the radar. So I've been, getting her story. She was put in touch with the Guardians because they're not stopping. They're trying to get her to put the track and trace in, even though she's got a full online booking system, trying to make her wear a mask. And I'm pretty sure they'll try and make sure she shuts her business down when the next lockdown occurs, and it will. And if it doesn't, hooray. I've been speaking to her and I put her in touch, and we're going to be looking after her.
Do you think one day she might be able to come and speak on this show?
Absolutely. I'm pretty sure she's been looking after herself very well, hasn't she, Charlie?
Yeah, she has, yeah.
I mean, she's a real sort of shining example to the world.
Can I just say at this point as well, women in general have been a shining example. It's been, like sort of pains to me all the way through this bloody thing. You might have found the same, Chris, that whenever we went to meetings or anything, we were a lot of times we were the only fellas there. The women have got a hell of a lot more balls than the men. They seem to be a lot more switched on to this, And this lady, who I won't say her name either, we need more people like that, and particularly with help from the Guardians.
Right. Now, this topic of targeted people, targeted individuals, usually single mothers who have got children, autistic children, or whatever, a difficult situation. I know from my own personal experience, we had a friend, this woman who was a friend of my mother, actually worked in St. John's charity shop with my mother about 25 years ago. She was called Eva Kenton, and she was a little bit strange. She was a little bit odd because she was psychic and she'd say a lot of weird things. But she was a good person. She was a lovely person, and she had a baby. She became estranged from the father. And social services took the child off her from the day she was from hospital, and we said that you got to take the medications, and well, anyway, they took. So me and my brother helped get a solicitor to help get the child back for her, and we only managed to get her back because the social workers had committed perjury in the family hearing in the family court. So she got the child back, and I saw her once again, and we thought that was over. And but then about a year later, I lost contact with her, and I just couldn't find her anywhere. I couldn't search anything, and I just forgot all about it for maybe 15, 20 years or something. And then once all this stuff I started piecing all this stuff together just a year or two ago, and I think to myself, she was targeted. The social services, once they had their eyes on that kid and her, they weren't going to let go, and we don't know. She just disappeared. How many?
I remember you talking about that. Yeah.
Do you know that when you register your child's birth, you are technically signing them over to the state. They're owned by the state, so they can take them when they want.
Become a corporation. Well,
so what I'm going to... Sorry, Charlie.
No, I was just going to say this is the whole idea between like statute law and what you're, encouraging people to do, to register under common law.
So what I'm going to be doing, Charlie, I'm going to start my own little podcast. They'll probably be about 2 or 3 minutes long, and I'm going to start educating people on their straw man, on debt, on stuff like that. I'll do a little chapter every other day, and we're going to put it on the channels that we can. Just a very small education, just to introduce people to the subject. And if they want to know more, then we'll give them the access to that through links. I mean, Chris, you've been studying this, haven't you?
Well, the thing is, we all know, the thing is, all of us within the community, I think we all know, we won't know as much in detail as you know about this particular subject, but we've kind of got a general consensus, and it's within our community, we're aware, but obviously we need to spread that awareness outside the community, So hopefully, if you're doing podcasts, there's going to be someone who, has like a friend or a relative or something, who, even if they don't pass it on to them, they gain this knowledge and they can give it to them, So it's getting the word out there. That's definitely what we want. Definitely.
Just small little chapters, a little bit of everything, and we'll keep adding to it. I mean, Chris, you've been studying this now, haven't you, with David?
Yeah, I've got week 5 coming up tomorrow night, and that's when we're going to do the best practice. So we've been talking about a lot of things. It's all starting to come together.
Can just say that's David Edelman, by the way, isn't it? The People's Lawyer.
People's Lawyer, yeah. And so I'll definitely speak more on this. I think after tomorrow night, I think I'll know an awful lot more. But basically, we are governed by consent. We are the living people, and we only consented to with the.
We were duped.
Yeah, we were had, Governor. We were had.
They have stopped.
Blatant con, innit? Yeah.
This is long term. Like they've been. It takes 3 generations. They stopped teaching us about our rights in our common law a long time ago, for this very reason, that this pinnacle that we're at.
Yeah. Well, they take people away to these little factories called Harrow and Eton and all the rest of it, and they give them the law. They tell them what the law is, but all they teach us is how to become little units and factories, like sort of.
The worker bees.
Yeah, that's it.
This is how you're going to function: 9 to 5, lunch break, and 2 playtime breaks. But that's the same as the factory shift.
Yeah. Strange, isn't it? And it gets you like sort of conditioned to this 9 to 5, so you're in a routine, which is the disturbing thing as well. I mean, it's all about like sort of breaking people up in division and all the rest of it. And we saw something today. I think you'd seen that thing on our WhatsApp group, Jim, about the man where they're deliberately trying to take away the idea of nurturing children like infants, take it away from a mother.
They're absolutely deleting women off the planet. We're not women. We're menstruators, breastfeeders, something to do with cervix. I don't know, but I posted that picture. It was on Maternity Now. Now, I'm all for LGBT community, but there's a reason this is getting thrown in our face, and we're fully aware of this. It's all part of the agenda.
Mm-hmm.
I don't want to irate anybody because I'm friends with a lot of transgender people and a lot of homosexual people, and they're absolutely lovely. Don't get me wrong, but I don't like what the government is doing. I don't like what they're doing.
Well, this is the trap to fall into. It's like Black Lives Matter and all the rest of it because of the
Divide.
the sneaky, they put it forward as if like, oh, Black Lives Matter, as if, like there's...
If they didn't before.
Yeah, who says they haven't? Like Antifa, anti-fascist and that, and all the...
So if you're not with Antifa, you are a fascist.
Yeah, exactly, yes, and this is the whole plan,
Oh,
and I mean, yeah.
Okay, can we just talk a little bit about... Can I say hi, Jack? Jack's popped in.
Hi, Jack.
Can we say a little bit about the weekend, London? Now, I've been to nearly all of them, and this was probably the best yet. It was magnificent.
Wow, it's a party.
What was so good about it was that because our numbers are so great,
They couldn't do anything.
the police are not trying anything anymore, and it was really interesting to see that there were a lot of groups there. There was a lot of people from Extinction Rebellion, a lot of people from the Palestine group. There was about five.
Well, okay, can I just mention something about that? They tried that same sneaky trick the last time I went down, remember? I suspect that they actually had the pro-Palestinian protest to do what they did with our protest on Saturday, where what they do is they try and pass it off that we're protesting, we're anti-Israeli protesters. They even had people who came up and waved the pro-Palestinian flags in front of number 10 while we were there. So they're trying to water down our argument. So it's all part of
They always do.
the tactics,
Well, no, I mean, last time, even when we were walking down Oxford Street, we passed each other and we were like high-fiving each other because we were all
okay. Yeah, I mean,
The
like,
tennis balls.
The tennis balls.
We checked Downing Street.
I was hanging over the barrier trying to grab them.
There was some people who were useless shots, so they were just stopping them off the backs of the heads of the people at the front. It was like, what the, like so, and they didn't go in.
James said that I threw like a girl, but I actually got it over the gate. So.
Oh, you don't throw. I mean, yeah, you throw.
I am a
I
girl.
can say I've got to be careful what I say. I nearly said you don't throw like a gun. Like, hang on a second, I didn't mean that.
Oh, the political correctness gone up mad.
Yeah,
We can't keep up
exactly,
with
yeah.
it. It's fucking mind control, man.
I know.
What was interesting was last year when there was a small Black Lives Matter group on Parliament Square, and they were heavily guarded by police, and they were like raging, and the police were blocking them, and
actually chanting "fuck the police."
yeah, that's right.
Yeah. And the police are guarding them.
Yeah, it was,
Crazy.
But they were like last year. They were worked up into a frenzy, and they were, and they were protected, and we were just sort of, what's going on?
We just got beaten to shit
But
by
this
buttons.
This time,
Well,
there
also,
was right?
did
And
you
there were
notice the?
hundreds? Can I just say this, Charlie? Right? There were hundreds of Extinction Rebellion with all their flags and everything, and we were kind of like mingling, and I was chatting with some, and there was no problem. And I think it's because there was so many more of us, and we raised the vibration. It was a really happy carnival kind of atmosphere.
Mm-hmm.
We weren't looking for trouble. We were looking for problems. And
But this is the thing. I mean, like, can I say first of all, things like Extinction Rebellion, etc., are all part of the game, but the people who are attending the protests aren't. The majority of them, like it's like if somebody put out like a Black Lives Matter, we know what the agenda is and why the protest's being organized. So like 5-10% of those people will be these devious little rats who are deliberately organizing it.
The rest of them are pure of heart for the cause.
Exactly. 95% have turned out thinking, that they're falling for it, as it were. So
It's part of the government tactics. They like to control groups.
That's
Everything is infiltrated. That's why we've got to keep our head on a swivel in regards to what we're doing as well.
Mm-hmm. And wasn't it ridiculous? And there was a thing on, like, was it Saoirse Speaks, a girl in London, and she went down. It was the Euros. I mean, I've forgotten all about football. You know, I used to love me football. I couldn't give a shit about it. You know? And
Me
she
neither.
went down. It's honestly crazy. And she was talking to the police down there, and obviously there were people all over, crowds drinking and everything. And they had Trafalgar Square all cordoned off, like they did when, you know, it was still cordoned off when we went down there. Probably so they couldn't see people mingling around, so you would get shots of all people like mingling around. But she was saying to them, you know, apart from the fact that you've got all these people mingling around, notice you haven't got your masks on and you're protecting people. Is that going to be the same situation on Saturday when you turn up and they all put the masks on, you know, and it's all this, you know, like sort of run alongside, like as if getting ready to cordon people off and everything, you know?
Did you see that? Did you see that? Because we were at the front. And they kind of came along and stringing them, saying, well, with you, go this way. And they all had these nappies on their face. And we're like, no, you're not. Get out the way.
Yeah, exactly.
Get
Yeah.
the heck out the way.
Yeah, you're not in
Because
charge.
we're sick of being told to go by the police. Because
Yeah.
obviously the police are planning these routes. We've got signal blockers everywhere. And obviously they're setting up little things. And that is not the point of a protest. Why are we getting like pushed around by the police? That is exactly what we're talking.
Exactly, yeah. And I mean, they get the backups when backs up. Sorry, when you get when you start going into the little satanic sites, you know. I mean,
they
sorry
do.
to wander down a rabbit hole. I mean, they don't mind you wandering down alongside the Serpentine or something like that. But as soon as you wander up towards Trafalgar Square or something, you know, and then they start like sort of with you're not as welcome anymore, you know. And
Well,
the
fuck
police-
'em.
Yeah,
Fuck 'em.
exactly.
Fuck them.
Exactly.
We're sick to death. We have had enough. We'll do what the fuck we want.
Exactly.
I mean, a lot of people are getting worried about the safety of the protests. A lot of people are getting concerned, especially with this Elephant and Castle explosion. What do you
Yes.
guys know about this?
I don't know anything about it. I mean, I'd saw like a little bit of footage this morning, but as usual, I was busy with Marge. You know, people are not knowing. I was busy working with Marge, you know. But yeah, so I saw that thing on just on a little clip on Facebook. Again, if you're wanting to wander in the rabbit hole, down a rabbit hole, sorry, pardon the pun.
We're both falling down a rabbit hole. Massive.
Yeah, a lot of people are talking about, you know, people who follow the narrative of like, you know, whether they're blowing up these domes, these, you know, deep underground military bases and things like that. We don't know, you know, like
It's
sort
highly
of could all be
plausible.
talking out. It could well be.
London
don't-
is like a Swiss cheese, isn't it?
What we do know, Charlie, Gemma, is that the big portion of the cabal are Satanists, and they do satanic rituals, and
Baphomets.
they've got these dates when they need to do sacrifices. And
The magic pagan dates, yes.
yeah, we know there's this guy who comes to our meetings, and he knows all these dates. He's researched them all, and he says on this date something will happen, on this date something will happen.
That
And,
calendar matches our calendar.
Yeah, I genuinely think something's going to happen this day, and something did happen that day. So
Yeah.
it's all part of their
Ritualistic.
that they do. You know,
It's like clockwork. They are harnessing these dates. This is why me and Jenny did the solstice. We were trying to harness that date to raise the vibration as they're trying to lower it.
Exactly. Yeah. Exactly.
That's what we need to do. We need to stay in this positivity, because as soon as we've got this and this fear complex, it's the best way to control a large populace.
Do you know, it's like that there's times, I mean, I'll watch something, I mean, like I'll record things like Bigfoot, you know, like sort of, so I'll watch something about Bigfoot and I'll have it recorded. But what will happen is it'll come to an advert and I've got to quickly get it through, because I tell you, even 2 seconds of that thing and it brings me down. You know, it starts off, you know, like, why don't you pay money for your pension? You could have a wonderful credit plan, or, you know, like sort of, why not invest in
How
it?
are we going to extort you next?
Yeah, and this is what it is, you know. And I mean, the worst ones of all things, like, have you seen those things on for, what do they call it? Cremations, pure cremation or something. And it's like sort of this little cartoon where it's like the old bloke and you're saying, oh, you know, so right, darling, I don't want a ceremony for me. Just put me in a bin bag and, you know, ferry me off. And all these kinds of things where they're deliberately normalizing the same ways they've normalized masks, the way they're normalizing, you know, like sort of taking away gender. recognition and that, and the same thing. They're trying to normalize this idea of just somebody dies, chuck them in a bag.
It's a brilliant way to destabilize society, is to take away the feminine and masculine roles,
Mhm.
because they do keep the structure going.
Yeah.
There's a lot of things
They're
that we
going for the
do.
weakest. They're going for the weakest in society. They're killing off the elderly. Now they're going for the children, the disabled. It's horrendous, and it's just underneath the radar.
They've been messing with our water, with our food, with the
Mhm.
air,
Mhm.
with the
Mhm.
freaking sky, with everything, with our freedom,
Yeah.
with how we interact, with how we see each other. You can't even smile at each other. This is
Yeah.
all social conditioning. It's got fuck all to do with the virus. I know what's going on, and I can't freaking say it online.
I know. We all know. We all know.
Right, Gemma.
Yes.
I came up with another. I came out with another poem this morning. Right, would you
Oh,
like
did
to
you?
hear it?
I
Right.
wandered
know we
lonely
never
as a
heard
cloud.
mine last week, but right, okay. So this one, working title is "Why Freedom is So Important." Right. Shall I stand up to do this, or what?
Please do, but you need to say, oh, you got your Guardians t-shirt on, Chris. Guardians.
Yeah. Well, as long as we're not looking at your belly
Yeah,
button.
I'm very proud of the Guardians this week, Gemma, and yeah.
Me too.
Right. Okay.
More to come, more to come.
Why freedom is so important. Some people are slaves and some are free. Why did they trade away their sovereignty? I have the authority of bodily autonomy, so why fall for the trick of the pharmaceutical prick? My mind is overloaded that I would permit. My mind is so overloaded that I would permit my DNA to be recoded. Information here, information there. So much around me, so much to make me scare. Is my confusion causing me delusion to make me see what becomes my reality? Is my sanity being put to test? Never mind, say my friends. Doctor knows best. There's a drug for this, there's a drug for that, a nice kickback and a pension pot stack. Money makes the world go round. Just whack it out and throw it around. A billion here, a billion there. Gouge out the Earth's minerals, why should I care? But Mother Earth is starting to wake. Soon you'll learn your big mistake.
Chris,
Hey.
Chris,
You know,
before
can
we go into that, the two poems you've written out now, can you send me those? Because I'd love to put them on a background for you.
Do you know what I hear when he was doing that? Run to the two and get the boom and again to the two. It should be the motherfucker, sort of my sovereignty. You're gonna do
Pharmaceuticals.
Yeah.
Yeah, well,
We'll get him doing that. We'll get him doing that. We'll get him to, with his Guardian's hat,
yeah.
switch round to the side, like,
So the pharmaceuticals were an absolute con. I mean, we were taught late into the century. We're looking at again at the freaking Rockefellers, aren't we? So they decided to start this campaign saying that all our natural medicines, just hearsay, mother's word of mouth or something, and they started pushing these. But Scrappy, do you mind?
That's a manservant, by the way, that she keeps this little tie, little tie man in a cupboard, and he keeps, you'll wash the dishes, not every now and again, but he keeps, if you hear her knocking, Missy Gemma, can I come out now, Missy Gemma? Give again, Scrappy. Isn't that right?
Yeah. So when they started introducing the pharmaceutical industry, so they took it away from the natural side. They monetized medicine instead of coming from the community. But then all these things started happening. All these new diseases started appearing or becoming more apparent, and cancer was on the rise. And instead of treating cancer, they actually started a cancer charity and started profiting from people dying from cancer. We've never found a cure, but many people have, and have all been silenced.
And now, can I just say on that point, am I right in saying that it's illegal to find a cure for cancer? There was someone talking about that the other day. I can't remember what it was on.
Yeah,
but it's
actually Cancer Act.
Yeah. Sorry, go on, Gemma.
So if you look at things, I mean, let's look at the simple dandelion. Do we know much about dandelions, guys? They are so full of nutrition. They're everything your heart needs. You can eat every little bit. They were branded as a weed. And the weedle causes cancer and heart disease. That
And
kills
Roundup,
and Roundup, and it kills secure.
Glyphosate, and that
All these
actually,
things to say, all these
yeah.
plants, these medicinal plants, are weeds. They're
They
not
actually-
weeds. They're medicine.
yeah, they actually put glyphosate on the crops just before they harvest them, so it gets into the food chain.
I don't know what that
Bastards,
is. Tell me what that is.
Glyphosate, it's the stuff that they put in Roundup, and it was the company who makes it. I think they were sued. I don't know whether they were sued or not. So it actually did come to the public consciousness. But they put glyphosate in Roundup, and people were suing them because they were it was carcinogenic basically, and they put it on the crops. They spray crops with them just before they harvested.
Give everybody a
that's
nice
how
little
it gets
dose of
production.
cancer.
Just
Can,
like
can, I,
that.
can I tell you how they started this? It was they were just purely a chemical company, Monsanto. It was just pure chemical killer.
Monsanto, that's right, yeah.
And the way they killed it, killed anything that came in contact with it, because it's a chelator. It just sucks out all the minerals and everything. And then one day they found that they had this big tanker full of it, and a certain kind of moss was growing on it. Now, well, how could it be growing on it? So they found, what is it? They looked at it, what is it? It must have some kind of
Resistance.
resistance to it. So they genetically modified strains of wheat, food, everything, to have this resistance in it, so that they could spray the crops, and it would kill everything apart from the one genetically modified strain that they they could engineer. So they've been doing this for decades over America. There was this thing called the Dust Bowl, and all the topsoil.
Oh God, the American Dust Bowl, the one that.
Is that they can't go wild because there's no males. But of course, if you've ever seen Jurassic Park, life always finds a way.
finds a
Life
way.
does find a way.
And so these they were doing it in Brazil for this Zika thing, but the Zika thing was actually spreading. So yeah, they've been doing this for a long time. They're genetically destroying all life on Earth. It's not just us through these vaccines. They're destroying the smallest, biggest, everything. It's a slow kind of. They're trying to destroy all life on Earth.
And they want
like
to patent it.
it's like we mentioned briefly last week when we had the technical issue, which I will not mention. It definitely wasn't him whatsoever.
No, it definitely wasn't. Definitely.
It's never him.
Anyway, I thought you weren't going to come back, so
Really?
I thought you
Oh,
weren't
is that
going to come back.
I'm the third amigo, man. for now. Apparently that's a very loose position. So, the bleach the soil. Sorry, my dog is very, very distracting.
That's
The
that
leech.
Thai, it's that Thai servant again in there, isn't it?
It's that Thai. Scrappy! Shut up!
But can we see him? Can you show him to us? Not
He's
seen him for a while.
He's 2 stories
He's washing
down.
the dishes. He's
All
washing
right.
the dishes, Chris. Right?
Scrappy!
Yes, Missy Gemma.
Scrappy!
I finished those.
Okay,
I finished those
wanna
dishes
please
like
send a
that,
message.
Thomas.
Scrappy, just calm down. She'll be with you in 10 minutes or so, right? Yeah.
Hey, we'll keep her for longer. We'll
So-
keep her for longer. Anyway, you were saying, Gemma.
I was trying to find a note I put, but it's not here. Where were we? Yeah, the salting the soil. I read when I was learning about deforestation when I was even a tiny child, that these companies were, just cutting down everything and then salting the soil and leaching it. Why were they allowed to do that? Why were we learning about that? Why wasn't anybody stopping them? But that was part of the agenda. And then with these forest fires, I keep bringing them up, but that was an absolute travesty. Can you imagine how much biodiversity was lost? And nobody talks about it anymore. It's all this bullshit COVID.
Well, this is where the climate change lobby comes into it, isn't it? It's
That's
all
a
the
fucking load of
contrivance.
shit.
That's why
The
they
one
do
is on a
it. Why do
permanent
people do
lockdown.
it?
Even
Do you
Greta's
know
come out
that-
saying the climate change is not
Yeah.
fucking real.
Right. Well,
Fuck
yeah,
it.
I mean,
Sorry,
do
Tourette's.
you know one of the things like the spray, and obviously we mentioned it earlier, aluminium dust. So the excuse they're using for doing that, I mean, you tell this to a 5-year-old child, they look at you and laugh. To reflect the sunlight back out into space. I mean, for fuck's sake,
I've
It's like sort of,
I've
this is
heard
the
that.
excuse. It's ridiculous.
Well, I don't know this for sure, but I have heard that they're letting X-rays through.
Yeah, yeah. Everything is just like an excuse to implement the agenda that they've already got in place, ready to go. It's insanity. It's insanity, and it gets you thinking. I mean, I was just talking about this to someone the other day about like when you think about how devious and cunning that these plans have been, how detailed and
So
intricate and
many levels.
yes, that's it exactly.
It's a
And you
3D
think,
chessboard.
where is
3D chessboard.
where is the top level? Because sometimes it does make you think to yourself, these people, it's beyond human. Do you know what I mean? It's like
I
beyond
think
the human.
it is
So you
because
start-
a human wouldn't do this.
yeah,
We're going to go into. We can cover this subject another day when there's less news.
yeah, exactly. Yeah,
But that's a whole other mind expander. We can go into another time.
Okay, then,
Yeah,
just
exactly.
just on the note of Extinction Rebellion, I just want to say I've got a lot of friends in Extinction Rebellion. Some of them might be watching now, right? We've
got
farm
nothing
that-
against the people.
the farm that I'm involved with, and I'm telling you that they are like good-hearted people, right?
Yeah.
And we really do want to best for the earth and the planet. Obviously, we feel that they've been hoodwinked,
I was hoodwinked. I was all about saving the seahorses and marine biology. And
yeah.
I've seen the Arctic like cut off. What looks like a freaking laser beam. The sea level has not risen in 100 years. I've seen historical photos and present photos. I'm sorry, but
and CO2 is good for the earth.
the plants absorb it.
It's their
The
food.
plants that they're cutting down and burning absorb it. It's always been a lovely little ecosystem.
I think the thing you have to remember is whatever they tell you is a fucking lie. It's whatever they tell you, the opposite is true. If they tell you the sky's blue, go out and check first. Yeah, don't believe them. Everything is just turned upside down. Everything is a lie. The health service isn't there to keep you healthy. It's to keep treating you. It's not to cure you. You were talking about like cancer and that earlier on. Like, is cancer a natural thing? I mean, like Ian from our group has done a lot of work in that respect. I don't know if I mentioned on here before where there was a few members of his family, and I think they were all heavy smokers bar one, and that one member was the one who died from lung cancer. So that started him thinking, and like sort of when he went into it, he realized it was all to do with EMF, was all to do with radio frequencies. It corresponded with radar, with radio, with sonar, everything that was coming out. And so this idea of cancer, and it harks back to this bloody John D. Rockefeller shit bloody culture, like sort of with germ theory, where even Louis Pasteur on his deathbed said it's all about the terrain, and so, but it suits the agenda, so everybody just carries on with this ridiculous germ theory idea. And I'm sorry, I'm wondering one thing and another.
I'm just wondering,
There's something I was talking about. There's something I was talking about to Mal. We were talking about how, like, I think we must have mentioned it before. Everybody that's like, zombie, right? They've been hoodwinked, they're hypnotized. We've lost them. There must be a way to get them back, but I think they've gone. And I think they're happy gone. Sorry, the dog is doing my head in. Basically, what was I saying before that yap? We have been on, and while everybody's being given us chaos and ripping us apart online while we're trying to warn them, we've had to let go of everything, and that has been a spiritual shift in itself. And relearn the law, learn about virology, learn about medicine, learn about the germ theory, the legal system, the government, the freaking cabal and religion and the religious history. Our education, we're exhausted. Our minds have never stopped.
Exactly.
Not every single one of us. Every single one of us.
Yeah, exactly right. Yeah, we have, whenever anybody talks, someone could come up with a subject at one time, like sort of Satanism would have been like a niche subject. It was like you say, like virology, immunology would have been a niche subject. EMF technology, whereas now, like you say, it's like we've gone on a crash course. It's been like a 24/7 research for the last 16 months, and it's just, and it gets to a point. I mean, like I've said it umpteen times.
I've been looking at this stuff all my life, and expect people to take it in all at once. I'm just wondering, there's another something that popped up on Guardian's 300 discussion group just earlier today was this memorandum of the 14th of
this Neil Ferguson.
Now Neil Ferguson. Now I saw it when it first came around, and I kind of dismissed it because I remember there's been things like this with Mark Steele, where they've deliberately tried to trick the community up by saying a lot of plausible stuff, but within it there's a to prove that it was doctored. And so I dismissed this, but it came up again today, and especially because of the Hancock incident, resigning and all that stuff, and finding out that Hancock was running like billion dollar kind of deals on his Gmail account, right? Well, complete fucking idiots they are. That maybe it's true. So I watched this again, and I'm thinking maybe it's true, and it is quite alarming because what they're saying is they're going to bring. This memorandum says they're going to bring a total lockdown on the 15th of July. They're going to go for the anti-vaxxers. They're going to tag us and whatever. But let's just hear a little bit of this.
And Chris Whitty, we should look up those names and see.
I'll just show them.
Rachel, to Frank Atherton, Dr. McBride, Mitchie, Smith, Taylor, Valance, Van Tam, and Chris Whitty. We should look up those names and see. So I'm just going to read from the document here. With the impending decision and announcement to be made later today by the Prime Minister in regards to the 4-week extension of the lockdown of the United Kingdom, we now have a relatively short window of opportunity with which to finalize our next steps of the process. It remains crucial for everything to remain on track and for us all to remember our common purpose behind this. It has been tough and will get tougher, but provided that we stay united and that we manage to persuade the bulk of the country that we're doing this for the good reasons, then we'll be able to move on with the part 2 of the plan. In short, this will be moving towards a permanent lockdown of the country from Thursday, July 15th, with the reasons for doing so being a spike in the new Indian, we know this is coming out, the variant, the Delta out of India.
I've heard this 5 times. I'm going to go sort the dog out, okay?
Yeah. Okay, yeah, you do that, yeah. I'll just a quick comment, Charlie. What does this say to you so far?
Yeah, exactly. It's what you've got to remember as well, though. I mean, like it's a fine line to draw. I'm not saying that it's not true, but what we have to remember is what we were talking about earlier, about the way they want to live in fear. And we're all aware of crisis actors and all these deliberately staged, like events, and it's designed for their agenda. I mean, when you see things like, we'll go back over the last year, we've had things, for instance, like policemen wrestling women to the ground, like sort of in forcing masks on them and things like that. Now, as it turns out, that, you smell a rat somewhere, and it turns out that it's all a staged event. So you start asking yourself, well, what the hell is this all about? And it's basically them saying to you, oh, right, well, if you don't, like if you don't wear your mask, this is going to happen to you. So they're putting this forward for an agenda. Now, something like this, I'm not saying that it isn't true. Far from that, it could well be true. But you just have to bear in mind that part of the main agenda is to keep us in fear. And by looking at things like this, like what effect does it have on us? Like sort of, in order to enforce something like this, what would they have to do? They would have to bring the army in, in order to do something like this. I mean, no matter how stupid people are, and I'm sorry to offend anyone, but no matter how stupid the people have been so far, how stupid do they have to be to go on permanent lockdown for nothing, and like sort of with the army. People have talked about, but they would bring the UN in, and I mean, I just don't know how the army would view this anyway. But anyway, interesting. What are the other details of that, then, Chris? Is it saying
Can I
basically
just about another 30 seconds more?
Yeah, go for it.
Okay. Interesting bit comes up.
Kamala is called the Kamala, right? Kamala Harris, Vice President, whore that rides the beast. New Indian and Nepal variants. Remember the sludge coming out of India as well, which, as we know, is just a rebranding of hay fever. So it's really just rebranding hay fever, and they're going to call it the new variant. The virus has already been very profitable and fruitful for us, and there's no limit to which we cannot further profit in both financial and reputational terms. Still, we must ensure that we have complete and utter cooperation from both the government and the media with this, and use the line that is, quote, it is just too risky to go ahead with the summer. We can model increases of these variants in line with, for example, 1, anti-lockdown protest. This would be a great one to push in light of recent events. 2, Euro 2021 football matches in England and Scotland, soccer matches. 3, where populations swell during the summer months, seaside resorts, as well as theme parks.
Okay, I had to go for a pee there and get myself some water. But did you hear the bit about say, this will be very good for profit?
Yeah. But again, like sort of, can I just say though, when other people are talking about profit and they're talking about people making money, when you're talking about money, you're talking about further down the pyramid from this. This agenda isn't about making money. They're using the sociopaths and the narcissists. Yeah, they're using that stick, that carrot on the end of a stick for them. But this isn't about money. We know it's all about a bigger agenda, and they're just using these people towards this larger agenda.
Exactly. Yeah, that's why, after learning a bit more about Hancock, and also learning about Hancock through Sheep Farm
Pantomime.
These people are all motivated.
Absolute lamb to the slaughter distraction. Nobody forget about Hancock and what he did. Nobody. Someone was now, but don't you forget about that.
Yeah, I tell you what, I keep thinking, just imagine them when they set up this thing with this woman, whoever she was, and them saying, right now, Matt, now you have to be caught kissing this woman, and you can imagine them going in, what do I do now? Do I get a hold of her? Do I pack her up now? Do I use my tongue? And you can imagine this woman, like, sort of, what the fuck, Hancock, how much would they have to pay her? I'm not taking $1 million, it's going to be $2 million, like, sort of ridiculous. So I remember seeing this thing once when he was being interviewed by this woman reporter, and he was just standing beside her, like sort of looking at her like this, and you could see this woman, like sort of, she was, what the fuck's he doing, kind of thing, like, as if he'd never seen a woman before, like, well, you can imagine with his public school upbringing, he probably really has, but yeah, all just pantomime, all just part, just so they can brush him away, sanitize it, say to
the whole world is a stage.
Yeah, you go and just sort it out,
Yeah, I mean, I now think it could probably be could probably be genuine because, like you said, they're not at the top level. They're just at like a mediocre level, and
It's
they're
all
motivated
fine,
by money and greed, and they've got to.
Okay, well, do that again,
Well,
Gemma, and I'll
puppet.
move your hands again. Look, there you
Wait,
see.
wait.
I'm the puppet master. Anyway, I digress.
So yeah, he's just no, basically the pull this media stunt. And everyone thinks we've had a little win because Matt Hancock's gone. Well, not everybody.
Yeah,
We're not that stupid. We are not that stupid. We saw straight through it because they brought in somebody far worse.
Oh yeah,
exactly. Sergeant
they're all
David
World
Little.
Economic
They're all
Forum.
little rats.
And he's going to do he's going to do a Tony Blair and disappear off and have a cozy little life and come back and still be involved in politics. Probably looking a bit like a reptile as well. So.
Yeah, exactly.
So, are there any other news we need to before we round things up?
Well, not so much news, but there was. Sorry, did you have something, Gemma? Were you going to say?
I've had some news. I'm not really sure I should mention it online. The police stuff. Well, you know about the police stuff.
Which bit are we talking about? Oh, your right. Sorry, yes. Okay, yeah, right. Okay. Just in case there's a case, we're not going to. No, I think that it's keeping that Thai bloke in. You know, he keeps getting like scratches on the windows and everything. The neighbours have reported. You know, we keep hearing someone knocking and shouting, "Let me out, Mom! Let me out!" Get back, Scrappy! Shut up, Scrappy! Get back on that corridor, you know. Yeah, but there was a thing on there that was interesting. Did you see it? There was a pastor. Well, it was a Catholic priest, I think, and he was talking about the.
I thought you can say rigatoni.
What people were going to have to be doing in years to come. When he was saying about when people start dropping dead and that, you know, and he was talking about how it's a Christian duty to have to bury them, and you'd have to invest in hazmat suits and things like this, you know.
I agree with the hazmat suits, but I'm a pagan. We can burn them. It's good.
Yeah, yeah, definitely. Which again makes you think: is this all part of the pantomime?
But yeah, the thing we don't. Oh, I mean, you've got to. This is why I can't take everything in at the moment. I used to read everything, and now I'm only going into things that I am currently involved in. Mm-hmm. But I'm getting feedback of other stuff, so I'm starting to put the reaches out again. You know what I'm like?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Right. I think that's the thing when you specialise.
Just round up news now, right? We've only got like 3 weeks left before the schools close. I've been taking every opportunity I can at 9 o'clock in the morning and 3 o'clock in the afternoon to stand out, and as parents are coming out, I give them this letter. Do you know which letter I mean?
I've been seeing a lot of people doing this. They're doing amazing things.
This one, Safer to Wait. It's a nice introduction one. It's saying there's nothing wrong with vaccines. Vaccines are all ethical and whatever and blah, blah, blah. It's just this one's the problem with. So this is a nice introduction kind of one.
Hang on a second. Whoa, can I just stop you there, Chris? The letter says there's nothing wrong with vaccines. That's the one you're giving out.
No, okay. Let me just say, dear parent, you're aware the government is planning to roll out COVID-19 vaccines to our children. This is already happening with over 16s in Manchester, blah, blah. Despite safety and efficacy trials being incomplete, right? There has been a lot of coverage in the media. Your Children Health Authority may already be given. What I'm trying to say, it goes on to say that this is gene-based, and it's just saying that. Anyway, if you're a vaxxer, right, you would not be offended by this. That's what I'm saying, right? So it's I'm not going to get hounded for giving that out to parents, because I think next week I'm going to give them some information which is a little bit more kind of. In fact, I ran out of them. I'm going to get 1,000 printed. It'll cost me 90.
Chris. Thanks for that.
Printed, yeah. And I'll bring some on. I'll bring some to our meeting, right? To see what they are, right? And I think we all need to be doing.
Was that the Tuesday? The Tuesday.
Yes. Whatever where it is. And
the G7. That's what it is.
All right.
That's what put me off Extinction Rebellion, the G7. But I'll end it there.
Yeah.
Right.
Well, at our Thursday club, we've got a great speaker for anyone who's tuning in. Anybody who goes to the Thursday club, there's
He's written two
John
books.
Hamer, yeah, written a few, I think, but two specifically about, well, I think three maybe, about the Titanic. There's a lot of people who don't even realise the
love that
Titanic is yeah. Well, this is what the talk's about. So, and our little club.
So another for anybody that does go to our secret little club on the Tuesday.
Well done. Tuesday at 5 o'clock. That's right. Yeah.
We've got another special speaker coming in, not this Thursday, but next Thursday, and that's when all you business owners and tradespeople need to come in, and it's awake only, please.
Yeah, and we need to start we need to start letting people learn how to keep their businesses open.
This is what this is about.
Yeah, they're going to start clamping down, aren't they? They're going to start closing down.
If we let them do it this time, we're never going to come out of lockdown.
Yeah, and we're seeing the success already, aren't we? We're seeing, like this woman in Manchester, and whichever other operations have been going on. We don't know. Nick is he's not necessarily public about everything, but Guardians 300 are really starting to get known now.
What we were meant to do. This is what we were meant to do.
Yeah, great. Okay, right. I don't want to go on forever, otherwise people will get bored and I'll fall asleep. But thanks for joining us this week, guys.
You did press the button this time, Chris. Now, didn't you?
It does say live in the top corner. I can check it.
Look, I've been monitoring it on my other laptop. I can see it. There's a 10-second delay. So if I go wave, and I'll look on the other screen in 10 seconds, I'll see myself.
Does it have that funny effect, like when when people, apparently.
There I am. I'm waving on the other screen. Yeah. So.
Yeah.
Anything else?
I think we've covered quite a lot today.
Yeah. We'll have to go down a few rabbit holes at some point, though. Eh?
Oh yeah.
I think we should jump in head first.
Yeah, straight in. Well, after we've heard about the Titanic, we might have something to bring people up to speed with. I mean, we all know about
too much. People will think we're too psycho, but
I think we should possibly cover. I think we should possibly cover the deeper esoterical stuff, and there's some stuff we can't talk about that. Well, we can. I just don't know if we can, from the people above.
Prepare the topic, Gemma, and then
we'll discuss it.
Tell us when you're going to do it, and then it'll be that'll be the.
I'll tell you what. I'll give you guys the reading material on it, and you can look. I'll have a word with you guys on my Nokia, and we'll see if we should or should not cover it.
Right. Okay. That's great. So.
And anybody who wants to join the Guardians or to help in, what's the best way that they can go about it?
So we are. If you go into Telegram, there's a Guardians 300 discussion group. That's where we pull and we talk. But you need to go on the Guardians website, www.guardians300.com. There you can sign up as a common law constable, to be trained as a common law constable, and also make contact with us. And that would be the best way, and that the team will get back in touch.
Excellent.
Very good.
I'll do it myself when I get time as well.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I would also highly recommend anybody that would want to put the common law or go into be a common law constable to go to www.commonlawcourt.com and register your birth certificate, because you come under their umbrella, their jurisdiction.
Oh, just on that note then. So if this woman who the Guardians went and helped last week, if she hadn't been registered with our common law birth certificate, would that have made any difference?
She does need to stand under common law to stand within her sovereignty, as far as I'm aware. But that's something we can cover much deeper next week, maybe.
Okay, can I be interested? Yeah, because we all need to know this.
I don't think the Guardians would ever retract their help if they did.
No.
The thing is, the straw man was never mine in the first place, right? So it's just it's nothing to do with me, but it can be useful to me. So this is why we say we, me and my straw man, because it can give us some powers and rights and everything. We can use it to our advantage sometimes to break things down.
Well, it's actually. I tell you what, I'm going to go into those in my little podcast. And
okay, looking forward to your podcast.
Looking
forward to the
they're only going to be little ones.
Good, but bite-sized pieces. That's what we need. Yeah,
I think I'll break this one up as well. I'll do clips of this on the discussion group as well, just like 4 or 5 minutes. I might include my poem on it.
Right, you should send me the poems, Chris, and I'll put them on a lovely little background.
But we've got to do them as a rap version, so we get like a bass going.
I'll do one every week, right?
Yeah, but you've got to do it with your hat swiveled round. You've got to, I'll tell you, get my sovereignty, and going it like that.
I thought you were going to break into the Spice Girls then, man.
Oh, yeah, I want to.
DJ Sovereign in the house.
Yeah. Charlie, you got to do some of your Devo stuff sometime, right?
Are we not, man?
Gemma, have you heard of Devo, yeah?
Oh, watch Devo. Watch Devo.
Yeah. What the heck is it? Honestly, I haven't watched TV in a very long time. I'm so out of the loop. I'm so backwards.
Oh, it's from the 80s, man. There was like
there was
a band from Akron, Ohio. And it was like, they were kind of like an arts project more than anything else. And it was at a time when you had like sort of there was like the romantic, is that Chris on the vodka? When there's like sort of all those I was just looking at that like
spring water.
Still water that I put out in the sun on Jennifer's recommendation.
Oh, well, very good.
What used to happen was the band that me and my brother were in, Devo, used to be like 2 pairs of brothers, so there was 4 of them plus like a drummer, and we actually got like the video at the time because we didn't have any of this newfangled internet and things, and we got this little old like sort of VHS video, and we watched the men who make the music, and we used to like mimic their act. But it was great because at a time when everyone was supposed to be glamorous, like sort of, it was a bit before Duran Duran, but like that type of era. And they would deliberately go on and they would have like sort of yellow jumpsuits with sponge sticking out, so they were all funny shapes, or they'd wear like black shorts with black knee-length socks and things like this. And they had a kind of robotic choreography.
I'm going to have to look at this, man. I'm going to have to look at this.
Brilliant. Devo.
Let's do it. Next festival we go to, let's 3 of us, let's do it as like a little opera.
Mr. Kamikaze, Mr. DNA, he's an altruistic pervert. Mr. DNA, Mr. Kamikaze, he had a spritz into himself. Mr. Kamikaze, Mr. DNA, he's an altruistic pervert. Mr. DNA, Mr. Kamikaze, he had a spritz into himself.
We are Devo.
Oh, we not, man. They tell us that we lost our tails, evolving up from little snails. I say it's all just wind and sails. Are we not, men?
We are Devo.
Are we not, men?
We are Devo.
I feel so left out. What? I can't pretend to go along with this.
That's your homework, Gemma, to research Devo for next week.
Oh, Devo.
Right. I'm checking out, guys. I've got other stuff I've got to prepare for tomorrow's lesson, so
I've got some graphics work to get done.
Now's the time to say goodbye.
Right. Goodbye.
How was your week?